All right, I think we're ready. My name's Jake, and I want to welcome everybody here for the service. And you're all brave souls to come out in this heat. But luckily the temple here is pretty cool, comparably. Today we're going to talk about self-control, how self-control yields lasting happiness. And there's a quote from Norm Paulsen, who's the founder of Sunburst. And he said, "True discipline is never a restriction, it is liberation." So when I started meditating on self-control, the word balance kind of resonated within me. And I started feeling the balance of the earth currently, nature, and the human population. And as we all know, it's not in much of a balanced situation right now. And when I look back on why it's gotten so out of balance, it really boils down to greed, ignorance, pollution, climate changes, and I had to stop because I felt myself spiraling down a black hole where there was no hope, and I had to pull myself back and realize that there's always hope, and there's always opportunities for all of us to project balance and harmony in our meditations and the way we live our lives. For when the Divine Spirit created creation, it was in balance. All the creatures, Mother Earth, all the planets, solar systems, all was in balance, all rotating around a smallest of all places within Divine Spirit. And that smallest of all places is like the lens of a projector that's projecting out all the images of creation, all the dimensions of consciousness. And I felt like in our recent history, the Native Americans, before the white people came, were really living a pretty balanced life. They hunted buffalo, most of them, and they used every part of that buffalo. They used the hide for their dwellings, for their clothing. Nothing was wasted, and was very sacred to them. There were some issues with warring tribes, but for the most part, the Native Americans were a true example of living in balance with Mother Earth and Divine Spirit. I found a quote from Luther Standing Bear, who's a Lakota chief who wrote in 1933, "The old people came literally to love the soil, and they sat or reclined on the ground with a feeling of being close to the mothering power. This is why the old Indian still sits upon the earth instead of propping himself up and away from its life-giving forces. For him to sit or lie upon the ground is to be able to think more deeply and to feel more keenly. He can see more clearly into the mysteries of life and come closer to the kinship to other lives about him. The earth was full of sounds which the old-time Indian could hear, sometimes putting his ear to the earth as to hear more clearly." So many of us around the world don't realize that the earth is a living being. It radiates all kinds of life and vibrations. And it's a little disheartening because when you see a Google photograph of like Los Angeles, it's mostly concrete and asphalt. There's very little earth showing. It is really part of getting into balance, is tuning into the earth, each of us. Maybe starting a little garden plot, or growing some nice flowers, or if you're in an apartment, get up. Like when I lived in Salt Lake, we had a balcony on our apartment, and we had pots that we grew stuff in. It's always possible to at least keep a connection with the earth, no matter where you live. The amazing thing about the creation, and especially living here on the earth, which is what we're most familiar with, is to see the variety of images and just admiring the imagination of Divine Spirit. And how some of these animals or insects, fish, birds, they all have different traits that are stronger than others. And this human body, our eyes are set straight ahead, and we can see maybe out to here, but behind us we can't see. But there's creatures that have eyes on the side of their head. Like if you look at a deer or a rabbit, the eyes are on the side of their head. And so they can see farther back, and there's some creatures that actually can see 360 degrees. We have a sense of smell, but nothing compared to like an elephant or a dog, who have incredible senses in their noses. I came upon a book that I wanted to talk about a little bit. It's written by this man named Ed Yong, who's a writer for the Atlantic magazine. He writes scientific articles. And it's a fascinating book because it's called An Immense World: How Animals' Senses Reveal the Hidden Realms Around Us. And basically what's in the book is he goes around to all these scientists and talks to them about their studies of all the different insects, fish, birds, mammals. And he begins the book, which is pretty fascinating, which he said, I was locked down in COVID. He lives in New York City. And he said, I was locked down with COVID, and I really was needing some sort of companion. And so I went and adopted a dog. And previously he had talked to a scientist who had studied the ability of a dog to be able to smell, and how incredible it was, and what were the physical characteristics of the nostrils that allowed this to happen. So he said every day he would walk the dog twice a day in New York, and he'd go around the same block. And he got really bored, and he realized that for the dog, every time they went for a walk, it was a new adventure, because there were all these smells and aromas. The dog could smell other dogs, or all kinds of stuff that as a human we can't. And so the dog was just like, yeah, this is fun, let's do it again. And he was like, okay, we'll walk it again. And it kind of tuned him into, kind of diving into and writing a book. And so he starts out by saying, imagine a large room where you have an elephant, a mouse, a robin, an owl, a bat, a rattlesnake, a spider, a mosquito, a bee, and a human. They're all existing in the same space, but experiencing it in a different way. Some of these creatures can see infrared and ultraviolet. We can't. Some sense body heat. Some feel seismic vibrations from the earth. Some have really acute hearing, an acute sense of smell. And he says, now imagine that the room goes dark, black dark. And how do those different creatures and human sense the environment? Well, the human has to put their arms out in front of them and walk so they don't run into anything. But an elephant, its trunk has an incredible sense of smell. You've seen it, it kind of moves in all different directions. Elephants can also hear ultrasonic rumbling sounds that other elephants give off that we can't hear. And through their feet, they feel seismic vibrations. So he talked to this one scientist who studied elephants for years and years and years, and she put sounds of other elephants' footprints. She put that device in the earth, and then she watched this pack that she had been watching and for a long time. And as soon as she turned that on, the elephants would stop, and they would lift one foot, and they were like, okay, who's coming? What's happening? It's fascinating. So the elephant's fine in the dark. The mouse uses its whiskers to see, feel the area and see. The owl can hear the mouse's footprints and can pinpoint its location, so it can swoop in and have lunch. The snake keeps sticking its tongue out, sensing infrared radiation from warm objects. The spider feels vibrations. That's why they build these webs, and as soon as something hits that web, like a mosquito or something, they're on it. A bat uses sonar to find a spider. And the bees, they see ultraviolet hues in flowers that we can't see. That's what attracts them to different flowers, is the ultraviolet colors they're emitting. And the robin feels the magnetic field guided by its internal compass and flies out the window. And it's interesting because every one of them had a different sense of that room and a different way to perceive it. This human body that the Divine Spirit created is an amazing, amazing thing. And the spark of our pure self that exists in this body is different for every one of us. And it's like different facets of a diamond. Norm used to refer to all of us as a bouquet of souls. And you look at the ocean, and each wave that comes in is different, but it's still a wave. And it's really fascinating when you stop and think about it, just the complexity of life here on the earth and how kind of unattuned we are with what's going on around us. So Yogananda, he said there is a tug of war between soul perception and sense perception. In other words, our senses are constantly looking outward, and there's a kind of a, sometimes can be a disconnect from our soul. It gets us into trouble, it leads us the wrong way. And we have to find a balance in our lives. And Yogananda said, you got to turn the sense light, the senses inward. He called them searchlights. You got to turn those inward through meditation. And he brought Kriya meditation to this country. And all of us are so very thankful that he did, because it gives us an opportunity, at least every morning and every night, but hopefully more than that, each day, to attune ourselves to our inner being, our pure self, and reflect on how we're living our lives. And also, we can project future events, like future things that we want to see happen. Like we like to see the world be in balance. We'd like to see hunger not be existing on the earth anymore. We don't want to see any more wars. And when we're meditating, the energies that we're generating within ourselves is merging with the cosmic energy of creation. And if we're projecting that balance and that harmony in our meditations and praying to Divine Spirit that we can witness it in our lives here, it changes the energy of the planet and can actually move the planet in a more positive direction as far as being in balance. We all have an incredible power within us to, an old phrase, change the world. And here at Sunburst, we teach the Kriya meditation technique. We've probably taught it to thousands of people over the 50 plus years we've been around. And, we see very slowly a conscious evolution happening on the planet. Sometimes it's hard to see how slow it is happening, but it all starts with us. If we can get ourselves in balance, generate self-control, control the senses, then we're doing our part to see this wonderful planet move forward in harmony and allow happiness and joy to happen for all the inhabitants and creatures on the earth. I'd like to go into our short meditation period now for about 15 or 20 minutes, and Nicole is going to guide us in with the bowls. Yogananda once said, "Roam in the world as a lion of self-control. See that the frogs of weakness don't kick you around." I'd like to end the service today with these 10 ancestral teachings. The earth is our mother. Care for her. Honor your ancestors through your actions. Open your heart and soul to the Great Spirit. All life is sacred. Treat all beings with respect. Take from the earth what is needed and nothing more. Put the good of all before your own interests. Give constant thanks for each new day. Speak the truth, but only of good in others. Follow the rhythms of nature. Rise and retire with the sun. Enjoy life's journey, but leave no tracks. Please follow me in prayer. Almighty Spirit, our Father and Mother, show us those things within us that are out of balance. Teach me the methods that I need to have self-control. May your divine power continue to penetrate the consciousness on this earth and usher in a new age of harmony and peace and love for all. Amen.
Deep down inside I've got that everlasting love, it's shining like the sun, it radiates on everyone. And the more that I give, the more I've got to give. It's the way that I live, it's all I'm living for. Deep down inside I've got that everlasting love, it's shining like the sun, it radiates on everyone. And the more that I give, the more I've got to give. It's the way that I live, it's all I'm living for.
Deep down inside I've got that everlasting love, it's shining like the sun, it radiates on everyone.
And the more that I give, the more I've got to give. It's the way that I live, it's all I'm living for. Shining like the sun, it radiates on everyone. And the more that to give. It's the way that I live. It's all I'm living for. May the grace of God bless men and every woman in this land. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Whatever comes to meet us, you know the darkness won't defeat us. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Some say the end is coming, said our souls are running, but I say, stay strong and keep your faith alive. Let's all come together, take care of each other. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Raise your hand, in the air. Stay strong, keep your faith alive. Take a stand, say a prayer. Stay strong, keep your faith alive. Hand in hand and side by side, with hearts open wide. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Help others find a way, create heaven here today. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Raise your hand, in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand, say a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. In times like these we need to remember what is real. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. United in our quest to spread love and happiness. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Raise your hand, in the air. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Take a stand, say a prayer. Stay strong and keep your faith alive. Jai Ram Ram Bolo, Jai Ram Ram Bolo, Jai Ram Ram Bolo, Sita Ram, Sita Ram. Jai Ram Ram Bolo, Jai Ram Ram Bolo, Jai Ram Ram Bolo, Sita Ram, Sita Ram. Stay strong and keep your faith alive.